Hello, I'm Jane Goldman. I've always been fascinated by psychic phenomena and the paranormal, and I am open-minded, but I'm also one of those kind of people who has a hard time believing in things if I haven't seen them for myself. So that's why I decided to take a very hands-on approach to my investigations into the paranormal. I've asked the experts whether they can teach me 10 different skills, and I've got just a month to learn each one. At the end of the 4 weeks, I'm going to be tested. What have I let myself in for? Tonight, I have to find out if it's possible to read hidden messages in the universe through the ancient art of astrology. I'm standing here astride the Greenwich Meridian line because I believe that's what you're supposed to do when you come and visit the Greenwich Meridian line. But what better place to start my journey into astrology? Because no matter where in the world you were born, your chart's going to be calculated on Greenwich Mean Time. Tomorrow I'm going to be meeting Raymond Castrogiovanni, who's one of Britain's top astrologers, and that's where I'm going to start my journey proper. But I don't really know what to expect of the next 4 weeks. I've never really understood astrology. I've never really understood how the position of the planets when I was born is supposed to influence my personality, my destiny. Hopefully, I'm going to find out. Step 1 took me to Manchester to meet my tutor, Raymond. Raymond's been practicing astrology for over 20 years, and he's built up a huge following in the Northwest through his various radio and television work. I caught up with him as he was about to launch into his regular radio astrology phone-in.
Anyway, now you're here tonight to do your astrology. Let's start now by going to Anfield and saying hello to Lisa. Hello, Lisa.
Hi.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Jolly good. Raymond is all yours.
Okay.
I'm looking at your date of birth and I can see that you're born under the sign of Virgo.
Yeah.
Raymond may be a modern-day astrologer, but he's practicing a skill that's been around for thousands of years. Astrology is an incredibly complicated subject, and it's based on a person's time and place of birth. It's founded on a pre-Christian falsehood that the Earth was at the centre of the universe and didn't move. Astrology is based on 3 factors. The first factor is the constellations, 12 groups of stars which appear to move through the sky, otherwise known to you and me as Gemini, Taurus, Sagittarius, etc. The second factor is something called the houses. These are areas of the sky as calculated by astrologers, and they're said to represent different aspects of our everyday lives, such as love, work, religion, and behaviour. The third factor is the planets. These are the planets we already know, such as Mars, Jupiter, and Mercury. There are 9 in all. As these appear to move through the sky, they travel through the constellations and the houses. Now, it's how these 3 elements interact which is said to influence our character and our future. One last thing, astrologers start all their calculations for someone's horoscope by looking at something called the ascendancy or rising sign. What they're doing here is mapping out where and when someone was born in relation to the position of a star constellation at that precise time. Apparently, this is what makes us all unique. Raymond had been sent the date, time and place of my birth to draw up my horoscope, and I was curious to find out what he'd come up with.
A good look at everything that's in here.
Wow, that looks... Gosh, there's an awful lot going on.
You've got quite a lot of aspects in there, yes. This chart speaks to us.
So what's it saying?
Well, your star sign is Gemini, and we know this because at the moment of birth, the sun was in the constellation of Gemini. So that's your identity, the relationship of having the very male.
And so Raymond began to interpret this very intricate-looking chart. I must say, I was intrigued.
So you have a good understanding of yourself, a good interrelationship with people because of this here, and it also allows you to be soft and sensitive when you need to be, but assertive, almost aggressive when it's needed as well.
That's true as well. And I have to hand it to him, he's spot on.
Very few people will get away with lying to you, so you can detect the truth quite quickly. You won't suffer fools gladly. The colour red is going to be very useful for you, and I see you already know that.
how was he getting all this from these images and symbols? And how did he know what they meant?
Right, Mars is in the second house. It's 14 degrees of Gemini.
It was time for my first lesson, and so it went on. And I was shocked at how complex it all was. Working out angles, studying correspondences, learning meanings. I wasn't feeling confident. I had just 4 weeks to get my head around terms like sesqui, squared, semi-sextile. And I haven't calculated angles since I was at school.
This, and your job is to look at the position of the planets
Yep.
in their constellations and in their houses and their relationship to each other.
Wow, that was a really enlightening day. I made no secret of the fact that I've just never been into astrology. I mean, I've never had anything against it, but I've just never really understood how it could possibly work. At first, I was really impressed by Raymond's chart he did for me. I suppose the nature of things, there's always going to be some stuff that could apply to many people, but there were a lot of things that did seem very specific and that were absolutely spot on. So whatever you feel about astrology, you've got to have respect for astrologers, because it's not an easy job. They're doing all the working out of the charts. No matter what the final result is, that's hard work. It was a good day. I felt I had some personal growth there.
Okay, step 2. Acting on Raymond's advice, I've come to get my astrology kit. And since I have absolutely no idea what that is, I'm meeting Adam, who's very kindly offered to help me go shopping. And weirdly enough, the place he's arranged to meet me is a place I haven't been for 16 years that I used to go on dates with my husband. So that's, it must be in the stars. I think he's down here. Hello. How you doing? Hi, lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for agreeing to help me out. But I wasn't going to meet just any astrologer. Adam is the president of the British Astrological and Psychic Society, no less, and he specialises in relationships and predicting children's careers.
Clients that I saw that maybe had their children's charts done when they were 4 or 5 years old, and the career that perhaps I suspected they would go to and wrote down in their charts has been the career they've ended up in.
This is worrying me slightly because my mum had my kids' birth charts done when they were born as a gift, and my eldest is supposed to start her own religion. So I was hoping that wasn't accurate. And you've got some charts here.
Yeah, well, what I've done is I picked up Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones's chart.
Okay.
And what you do is you basically superimpose the charts on them and look for compatibility issues. For instance, we know that obviously they're born on the same date, so the suns are very close to
The exact same date?
Well, obviously in different years, because there's a bit of an age difference, but they were, but they were both born on September the 25th. So you can see actually there's a lot, because all the planets are very close to each other, there's a lot of compatibility.
So presumably something like this is a lot more accurate than just things you get in magazines where it's like, you know, well, if you're a Taurus, you should go out with a whatever.
Because what you can do is you can spot where there's likely to be problems. And the big problem we've got here is this Saturn close to the midheaven, which is to do with sort of career and Saturn. And at times their career decisions are going to be the cause problems in the relationship.
That's what the chart is.
Yes.
I suppose we don't know.
We don't know. They might not say that.
No. So Adam, apparently what I need now to do my plotting and interpretation of the chart is an astrology kit, and are you going to help me?
Well, I'm afraid it's not exactly a kit. No, we're going to have well, half a dozen books at least to start with. But if you come with me, we'll go and buy the stuff you need.
Let's go shopping.
Just when I thought astrology was going to turn into an easy-to-assemble DIY kit, I have a horrible feeling I'm going to get more bogged down than ever.
Well, the first thing we need is an atlas.
And that doesn't look like an atlas to me. That looks like lots of tiny writing.
Yes, but as you look through it, you can see that it's every town and place in the world. You need what's known as a table of houses. And you
Even
would have-
tinier writing.
Even tinier writing. This is where the houses are
Where the
in
houses
the
are.
zodiac. Well, we need
Houses.
another book for the planets.
Okay, so this says where the planets were at every given date and time.
Yes.
Well,
You also need a current planetary position. This book will tell you what's going to happen to someone, whereas
this
these
is-
charts were working out their character and their personality traits.
now I follow. Okay. I like the fact that there's a separate book available called How to Read Raphael's Ephemeris. That's always a worry when you get a book and you need another book to tell you how to read it.
Books coming out of my ears. But will I be able to make any sense of them?
This looks encouragingly sim.
That's the start.
Seems there are specialist astrologers for every area of life, including business.
Each company
Will have a
and
birth
for each
chart.
stock has its own birth chart.
There's a famous quote by JP Morgan Bank: millionaires don't choose astrology, but billionaires do. And then we also need some blank forms for you to plot the planets
okay.
onto their
I
respective
recognise this.
positions.
Great.
Yes.
So I'm all set.
Yep, all set.
Enough astrology already. This is insane. This is insane. People do this. I can't believe people do this. There is so much to get my head around. I mean, the houses, the constellations, look at this. What's that? What does that mean? The whole interpretation bit. I haven't even started that. I will get there. I will get there eventually. But it's at the moment. It's like, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm going to crack on.
After the break, will I get my head around the symbols in time for my first big test to write the newspaper predictions for all 12 star signs for millions of canny commuters?